The light had never been his friend, nor had it been to any watcher that came before him. But it wasn't until now that he realized that the light was as much a part of him as the dark was.
I'm Nikki, the author.
And I'm Mina, the friend that's never read the book.
Welcome to Behind the Quill, the podcast that takes you on a behind-the-scenes journey into the minds of writers. Hosted by me, Nikki Willcome, and Mina Pro, this show dives deep into the creative process, revealing the stories, struggles, and secrets behind the pages.
Whether you're a writer yourself, a book lover, or just curious of how stories come to life, join Nikki and myself, Mina Pro, as we chat with authors, share experiences, and explore everything that goes into making magic with words.
In every episode, we'll be pulling back the curtain to reveal the highs, lows, and plot twists of the writing life. From the spark of inspiration to the final draft, no part of the process is off limits.
So grab your favorite pen, a cup of tea, and get ready for an intimate and candid look at what happens behind the quill. Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Quill. Today we're going to be discussing more about mythical creatures. So Nikki is back here and she's going to help me deep dive into this topic and give us the inside scoop from her books, An Empyrian Odyssey. There's so many ways we could start this episode, but I want to start with something very serious, Miss Nikki. What's your favorite mythical creature?
Wow, you're hitting me with the tough ones right away.
I know.
Oh boy. All right, let's do this. My favorite mythical creature right now, I would have to say dragons. And I know, I feel like that's such a boring answer. I should say something cool like a Valkyrie or a Phoenix, but I love dragons. And, I went through a Pegasus phase when I was a kid because I loved horses. And then elves when I was in my Lord of the Rings obsession phase. That lasted a long time. I mean, I still am. I'm still in it, but but I think I can guess what yours is.
No, there's no way you could ever guess what my favorite is.
Your favorite mythical creature is a mermaid. And if it's not, I'm going to be shocked.
What gave it away? Was it the red hair? Was it like the mermaid tail that I wear in the swimming pool?
Yes.
Like, what gave it away?
Yes, all of that. Mermaids everywhere. So where did your love of mermaids start? Was it Disney?
I mean, that was definitely a big part of it. Little Mermaid was an epic part of my childhood. She was the only redhead Disney princess at the time growing up. So she was the one I clung to. But I also came from a family that loved going to the ocean every year. My grandfather was in the Navy, so we had lots of maritime sailor things, and I grew up around lakes too. So everything in my worldview as a kid was that I was a mermaid.
Oh, I love that story.
I thought I was a legit mermaid. Now, I do hold a very special place in my heart. It's not really a mythical thing. It's more of a religious belief though too, where I hold a very special place in my heart. It's still ocean animals, but how manatees and different types of ocean animals can be representations of mythical creatures and be loved ones coming back to visit you and all those kinds of things too. But definitely a mermaid. I've been obsessed with mermaids my whole life. I am a mermaid. There's no question about it.
I mean, I just figured because we're 90s kids, and Disney had a stranglehold on us. And I know you and I have talked about how we feel about Disney doing all these live action remakes, but you know what live action remake I'm really excited for, and it's not through Disney?
Do I really want to know? Because I don't think the audience could hear my eyes roll as hard as they did. I do not like the live action remakes at all. Okay, tell me, what is it?
How to Train Your Dragon. I'm so excited. I mean, I love the animated movies, and Kip and I used to watch the series together all the time. And in fact, he's rewatching it again right now.
You know what I'm excited for that? Is it Gerard Butler?
Yeah.
He's coming back he's not going to be as good looking as he was in P.S. I Love You when he's doing this movie.
Oh, I love that movie.
But he's going to be a part of it. That's one of my boyfriends.
Oh, okay.
Him and Jason Momoa are my boyfriends.
How can they not be? They're just everyone's boyfriends. Apologies to Jason and Gerard if they ever listen to this. But I mean, we love you. So, but I mean, yeah, speaking of Kip though, and mythical creatures, I have a funny story.
Okay.
Not with a dragon, but with a leprechaun.
Oh no. Leprechauns are scary. Like if you actually dig into what a leprechaun is, like the real history behind some of the leprechauns are scary. No thanks.
It was for St. Patrick's Day a couple years ago. And I was trying to come up with ideas about how to make it fun. And I had the idea of making little leprechaun footprints to make it look like the leprechaun had come and left some candy. I used this green aloe gel I had, and I made little footprints in the bathroom going into the shower to make it look like he had escaped down the drain. I thought it was a fun idea, but Kip, not so much. He was so freaked out by it the next morning. He was sobbing. And I felt so bad. I thought, well, he's going to be traumatized by that forever.
No. Oh no, is he still traumatized by that?
He still talks about it. Like he'll tell his grandparents that we have a naughty leprechaun that comes to our house, not like the nice ones that go to grandma and grandpa's. But I think he's better now. I mean, last year he set up a pretty elaborate trap for him, so I think he's coming around. And I think this episode might be coming out after St. Patrick's Day this year, but I'll say he's already got plans drawn up for the plan this year to catch the leprechaun.
I know Riker and Ellie too are all about wanting to catch the leprechaun this year because I did the same thing last year. I did little green paint footprints and then had the leprechaun had drawn all over the kids' faces and things like that. So
yeah, I know. Poor Kip though. I don't think he took a shower for a week.
Oh no. Oh, poor Kip. Well, anyways, enough about how we traumatize our children with leprechaun footprints. Let's get into today's episode.
Yes, but before we do, I thought it would be fun to play a little game. Mina didn't know I was going to do this, you guys. I like to call this game Stump Miss Mina.
Oh, no. Okay.
I'm going to tell you the description of a mythical creature, and you have to try and guess its name.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Are you good with this?
Sure.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can land you a softball.
Okay.
Right away. Okay. This creature has the body of a lion and the head of a human. It's prominent in Egyptian mythology. It's known for guarding sacred places.
It's a sphinx.
Yeah, good job.
I started to think of different statues I saw watching the Prince of Egypt movie.
Oh. Well, it worked. You got it.
Okay.
Ooh, have a okay, that one's too easy. I'm not gonna do that one. What about this one? A creature believed to suck the blood of livestock, particularly goats. It originates from Latin America. Let's see, it's often described as reptilian with spines along its back.
Oh, is this the chupacabra one?
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah, its traits are it's mysterious, it's feared, and elusive. Yeah, El Chupacabra.
I love cryptids. I love stuff like this. This is fun.
Yeah. Oh, good. She's having a good time with the game, everybody. Wasn't sure. I didn't know if she was going to like it or not. Okay, how about this one?
Some gods and deities I might not do too hot on, but some the cryptid ones, I got them.
Yeah. Yeah, well, this is mythical creatures, so we're not doing gods or goddesses, I don't think, in this episode. No. Okay. What about it's a serpent or a dragon that can kill with its gaze. It's found in European folklore, particularly medieval times. It's found in Harry Potter, Chamber of Secrets. You've watched Harry Potter.
Basilisk?
Yeah. Yeah.
I needed the Harry Potter to pop in there. Because when I think of a basilisk, I just think of the Jesus lizard.
Oh yeah.
Because that's a basilisk.
That's the one Kip talks about all the time.
My son loves the Jesus lizards.
He likes all kinds of lizards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do you guys have any new lizards?
Not yet. Riker wants some new pets. And right now he wants either an axolotl or he wants to get like this huge like dragon lizard thing that looks like toothless.
Okay.
I don't know how I feel about that.
No. Like it's a real...
Yeah, I don't remember what he said it was called, but it's this lizard that looks like a baby toothless. Just doesn't have wings. So I would have a dragon for you.
That would be adorable. A little toothless. I love toothless. Yes. Okay. So let's see. Okay, let's do 2 more. This one. Okay, you might know this one. This is a terrifying female creature with hair made of snake.
Medusa.
Okay, but Medusa is a famous one of these.
Oh.
Do you know what her kind is?
What her breed is? No, I have no idea.
Okay, it's called a gorgon.
Oh, I've heard of that. I didn't know what that was.
Oh, okay.
Gorgon. Okay, now I know what that is.
Gorgon. Yeah, gorgon. Mm-hmm. Okay, so...
I totally thought like a gorgon was like a cyclops thing.
Oh, I didn't know what it was.
I thought Medusa was Medusa. Yeah.
But apparently there's more, and she's just the most famous one.
Oh, okay then.
See what happens when you go down this...
There's a rabbit hole.
The rabbit hole of all these things. Okay, I have one more. And I'm only going to give you one clue because this is what came up when I was looking these up, and I thought it was the most amazing thing. Okay, ready?
Got it. Here we go.
The immortal fire chicken.
The phoenix.
Yes. Yes.
The immortal fire chicken. Oh my god.
That's what came up. It was like under like Wikipedia or something. That was like one of the first like little blurbs that came up. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Oh no. Well, maybe one day you'll write about the immortal fire chicken in your book.
Yeah.
And I need to have some child or something in your book just like blurt out. It's the fire chicken.
The fire. Yes. Yeah, I'll add it as like an Easter egg in one of the books.
Yes.
Only those who've listened to the podcast. Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh boy, yeah. I'd have to do a little more research because the phoenix appears in so many different cultures and in Harry Potter again. Second Harry Potter reference this podcast, which is cool. But mermaids are like that too.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the first known story about mermaids were from Assyria. But you see them in like Greek mythology. In Japan, they have the Ningyo.
Mm-hmm.
Probably going to butcher that name. But in Scotland and Ireland, they have the Selkie. In some African cultures, they have Mami Wata. And that's what it's like for dragons too. You know, it appears all over the world. They're in China, Japan, Europe. You know, oh, you're going to get this. One of the earliest ones, I think, was from Mesopotamia. Do you remember the pink serpent guy in the last Godzilla movie?
Yes, I totally remember that.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's Tiamat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, who's part of the Babylonian creation myth. And this one will probably ring some bells too because our kids are obsessed with dinosaurs. In Aztec mythology, there's a feathered serpent god associated with the wind and air named
Quetzalcoatl.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, see, this is why I love mythology. These stories just keep popping up and getting told and reimagined in new ways. And it's awesome.
All right. So now that we've gone through that rabbit hole.
Now the rabbit hole is done. We've played the game.
Let's get into the mythical creatures that are in your book now. We talked a little bit about them before in our last episode, but now we're going to go into a much deeper dive into them today. So remind us, what are they and kind of what have we talked about so far?
Okay, so mythical creatures. So we have the Amanji, which we talked about a little bit last time. The Aphangi, the Lumiere, the Blue Lady, and I'll throw the Watchers in there as well.
Okay, so which one should we start with?
Oh boy, I'm probably going to talk about all of them simultaneously because it's like trying to untangle all the lines on my murder boards. They're just all connected. Okay, we'll start with the Watchers. Haven, your dark and broody boyfriend, is a Watcher.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he is.
And these guys are the guardians of the marshlands. They protect the Medine by hunting the Amanji. And it kind of depends on the tribe how the Watchers are perceived. The tribes that are on the outskirts of the marshlands tend to see them a little more favorably than the more inland ones do because they need the most protection from the Amanji.
So why do some tribes not seem to like them if the Watchers are protecting the marshland?
So this is the same question Tamsin has when she gets to the marshlands in book 2. She can't really wrap her head around why these people would kind of turn their backs on the people that are protecting them, like you said, because she sees the devastation that the Amanji can cause almost immediately after she gets there. They wiped out an entire village, but the Watchers aren't normal humans. Okay, so like part of their description, they have these glowing eyes. They can see in the dark. They seem to have this heightened physicality, but can also blend in with their surroundings. And they have the ability to subdue fire, which comes in handy when dealing with the Amanji, which I'll get to in a sec. So all of this surface description stuff would seem to be enough to make them outsiders to the Medine. You know, they're different enough. We're like, okay, not sure about you, but, you know, and it certainly was enough when Haven was in Empyria. But Tamsin does some digging and finds out that it stems from how the Watchers actually become Watchers.
So they're not just born this way. They're not just one creation of a Watcher to the next creation. Like,
yes.
They're not born to it.
Right. Okay. So it's both.
Okay.
A little bit yes, a little bit no. Okay. So the ones that are born that way are descendants from the original Watchers, which we talked about their origin story a little bit in the last episode. But the Watcher gene is tricky and it doesn't come up for everyone in that bloodline. The ones that do have it start to get symptoms early on in childhood, and that has to do with the sun curse that was placed upon the original Watchers. They start to get sick, and if it isn't caught in time, they will eventually die. But there is another sign that only Watchers from those original bloodlines can see, and they're these glowing marks along their veins. So only the ones from the original Watchers have them, and they're also the only ones that can see them. You still with me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when one of these children gets sick, or a Watcher sees that they have the markings, there is only one thing they can do, and that's to complete their transformation into a Watcher, which means taking that child from their home, from their family, and basically dooming them to a shortened and dangerous life, because Watchers don't live very long. The sun curse will eventually get them, or the Amanji will. One of the Watchers, Oman, is only in his 40s and is considered like the eldest Watcher.
So even though the Watchers are taking kids to save them for a little while anyways, it sounds like the parents don't like this at all because it's dooming their children.
Yeah, of course. To them, the Watchers are recruiting by stealing their children. You know, they can't see the markings. They don't know why their child is sick. It would probably make you pretty angry or resentful if someone showed up to your house and said, the only way to make your sick kid better is if they go with them. Put them through a pretty horrific process, and if they survive, then they might live another 10 years, but you won't get to see them very much.
Okay, that makes sense. Now, why some of the Medine would be resentful for that? We see and we understand that you're protecting the marshland, but you're also taking the kids to do it. So yeah, that totally makes sense.
Okay, yeah. And there's so many nuances at work within that too. Like I said, a lot of the outlying tribes understand a little bit better because they're constantly under threat from the Amanji. But to give up a child like that can cause a lot of pain and a lot of difficulty for that family. And I explore that more when we get into Haven's backstory.
Now, is Haven one of those children with the markings?
Yes. Haven is a descendant from the original bloodlines, and we learn that his family pretty much fell apart around the time he was taken. And a lot of that has to do with his father, Ardak, who we actually get to meet in book 3 in a pretty dramatic and surprising way. But there's a lot of emotional baggage to unpack surrounding him and Haven. Ardak pretty much checked out when he realized what was going to happen to Haven because he didn't know how to cope with it.
So another reason why he's dark and broody.
Mm-hmm. You got it.
So clearly there's some feeling of abandonment by Haven, but I wonder what his father feels like when they reunite and if they reunite.
Yeah, this is one of the things we'll explore more in the 4th book. But there's definitely a feeling of atonement on Ardak's end.
Okay, so you mentioned that there's another way, though, to become a Watcher.
Yes, the other way happens if someone is attacked by an Amanji and is burned by their fire. So the Amanji and the Aphanji are my story's take on the dragon. You know, the dragons that I love so much. You know, and they breathe fire like any good dragon would. But it's not just ordinary fire that will burn. There's poison in it as well. So if someone is burned by it, the only way to save them is to turn them into a Watcher. And the reason this works is because of what that process actually involves.
You already said it's going to be pretty horrific, but how bad are we talking?
Well, they have to cut out their heart and replace it with an Amanji's.
Oh, that's minorly invasive.
You know, day procedure.
Just an outpatient clinic procedure, you know, nothing too big.
Yeah, no, I know, it's gruesome, but that's why it works. And there's an element of magic involved to make it more mysterious. And a little bit more is revealed with each book. So in the first book, Tamsin discovers the Watchers carry something called a firestone. And Haven is really reluctant to tell Tamsin what it is because that would mean he would have to tell her about this whole process of becoming a Watcher because the firestone is a Watcher's heart. It's their original heart, the one they're born with. And he doesn't want Tamsin to know he has an Amanji heart inside of him.
This sounds very Frankenstein.
Right, exactly. And this is something Haven wrestles with the more they start to have feelings for each other because he knows what he is and he's never had someone show affection towards him like this before. So he's kind of torn. He's not a monster in Tamsin's eyes, but he's afraid that if he tells her, then he will fulfill that.
Now, Tamsin eventually finds out, though, right?
Yeah. And like I said, she learns a lot, especially after she gets to the marshlands. Almost right away, she learns that people won't even help an injured Watcher because there's the belief that Watcher blood can cause all sorts of things like paralysis or can induce hallucinations.
Now I'm assuming that's true.
Yeah. Because there's Amanji blood in the mix now, right? And this whole other thing, it's a whole other thing surrounding Watcher blood. So we'll probably get into that when we talk about the villains.
Oh boy, that's going to be an interesting episode. But I see why Watchers are included in the mix of mythical creatures now. They become a little less human with each new piece of information you've given. And even less human are the Amanji and the Aphanji, which you said is kind of your take on dragons. So tell me more about them.
Okay, so the Amanji are the ones we hear about all the time throughout the books. These are the creatures that hunt the Medine and who the Watchers hunt in return. So Tamsin has a close encounter with one in book 2, and she describes it as this large lizard-like creature with black, oily skin, a long face with rows of sharp teeth and horns that curl behind its head. It's as big as an ox, but has this stealth-like way of moving through the reeds like a cat. And it has these hooked claws that it uses to snatch things out of the water. Because the Amanji don't like water. But I had velociraptors in mind when I was...
I've definitely seen velociraptor vibes in this.
Yes. Thank you, Kip, for your love of dinosaurs. But yeah, so Haven has a line in book 1 where he tells Tamsin that he only truly sleeps when it's raining because that's when the Amanji won't come hunting. Because
it sounds like a really scary dragon.
It's supposed to be. And I don't personally like scary things. I mean, you know this about me.
Yeah, well, we all know Nikki doesn't like water either. So it sounds like that transferred even over to the Amanji.
Yes, I mean, well, lots of things can be afraid of the water. But it made sense for the Amanji because they breathe fire, remember?
Okay, I get that. Fire and water don't mix. I'll give you that one.
You have to respect the sea is all I'm saying.
I mean, I'm a mermaid, so...
True.
Okay. How did you use these elements about the Amanji to make it scary for your characters, other than the crazy description?
Yeah. So one example is Tamsin's first encounter. I personally really don't like being chased or followed because I have this gut, flight, or freeze response, but I knew I could tap into that, and it could be a really powerful visual if I had one of these creatures stalking Tamsin through the reeds, in the dark, and invoke that kind of visceral reaction.
So does this thing have wings? Like, can it fly over water?
No, the Amanji don't have wings.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so that's why it's very important for the Medine that the Empyrean Dam gets taken down. That was the whole premise of book 1, why the Medine came to Empyrea, because, hey, you guys are building a wall in the river, If they lose their water, then it won't be long before the Amanji take over and there won't be enough watchers to protect them. That's the whole point, book 1. Their survival depends on the dam being taken down, and this all comes down to the big confrontation in book 3.
And you said before that the Watchers have an ability to subdue fire. Does this apply to the Amanji's fire too?
Yes, that's why the Watchers are really the only ones that can take on an Amanji and come away unscathed, more or less.
And do the Amanji serve anything else within the story other than being this deadly threat looming over the marshlands?
Oh, yes. It gets quite more complicated, for Tamsin especially, by the time book 2 ends, and she realizes the Amanji are not just these mindless, predatory monsters, but there's a connection between them and the ones who captured Haven. And by the time we get to book 3, Tamsin realizes she's pretty much screwed if she tries to rescue Haven on her own.
So where does the Afanji fit into all of this? And are they any different than the Amanji?
Okay, yes. The Afanji are like the Amanji's ancient cousins. And these ones do have wings.
Oh, no.
Oh no is right. But we have to go really far back into the Medine's lore to find them. So the Amanji and the Afanji both were creations of Eben. Remember the god that tried to destroy everything?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So the legend says that when Eben was defeated, he was imprisoned in the moon and the Afanji were hunted to near extinction. So most of the Medine don't even know they ever existed. But after Eben escaped his imprisonment, he took what was left and put them into a kind of hibernation state. So they're essentially statues at this point. But like what we see with Haven, there's a lot of mental manipulation taking place under the surface to ensure their loyalty. And he's just waiting for the right time to wake them up.
Okay, so do they get woken up?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
So there's a lot of details leading up to that. If you're not paying attention when you're reading, you're going to miss it. I will say there's a major one in the first book that I get most people won't pick up on unless they read it again or if they remember it when they read book 3. And there's another mention of them in book 2. where it describes what Eben is doing with them, but it's still like putting together a puzzle with a blindfold on. It's not until book 3 where we realize, oh no, Eben's had plan A, plan B, plan C in place, and we've only been preparing for plan A.
That does not sound good for our main character. That really sounds like we're behind the 8 ball.
Yeah, yep. So if you're reading for the first time, I would say pay attention to what Haven pays attention to and tuck that away for book 3.
Well, if you're not going to tell us what happened, then I'm going to have to move on. So next up, we have then the Blue Lady. So who is she? How is she important? What the hell's her story?
Okay. The Blue Lady is this apparition that keeps appearing to Tamsin. She's never seen her face, but Tamsin describes her as having this sapphire-colored skin and wears a dark hooded cloak, kind of like what the Watchers wear. So she just calls her the Blue Lady. And in the story, she serves as this guiding figure for Tamsin. She's not exactly a mentor, but she intervenes at key times. She is connected to a very specific story about the Medines' afterlife. And Tamsin learns about this when she meets the Islanders. The Blue Lady, or the Kajurajin, what the Islanders call her. It's a mouthful, I know. She was created from the tears of Mahiri that fell into the ocean. Her creation was so pure that it's said that all the departed souls were drawn to her, and from then on, she became the keeper of souls and the guardian of the afterlife. So it's also said that she sometimes will appear to people as lost loved ones. But the problem with that logic for Tamsin is that she hasn't lost anyone close to her yet. And definitely nobody who's blue.
Interesting. So part of her mystery is figuring out who she is and why she keeps appearing to Tamsin.
Exactly. And once Tamsin hears the story of how the Blue Lady is connected to the afterlife, she starts to question what her intentions really are, because every time the Blue Lady appears, there seems to be something bad that follows. So Tamsin really starts to worry if the Blue Lady is trying to keep her from death or guiding her towards it.
So does this get resolved in book 3, or is this something that happens later on and we have to wait for book 4?
Yes, it gets resolved in book 3. We find out that she's been trying to counteract what the villains are doing through Tamsin. And it speaks to the bigger threats that Tamsin doesn't really become aware of until book 3. I'll say that she's rooting for Tamsin and tries to move her in the right direction, but the stakes outweigh the individual for the Blue Lady anyway, so it's not always easy or comfortable what Tamsin has to deal with because of her involvement.
So does Tamsin eventually find out who she is appearing as?
Yes, but I'll leave that as a surprise for another episode.
All right. You're keeping your cards really close today. I get it.
I feel like I've already said too much.
Well, you're helping unravel some of the mystery by giving us a little bit more detail. And we have one more thing. One more mythical creature to unravel, and they are the Lumeri. Right?
Lumeri.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Those were the original Watchers, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So that we had talked about kind of in the last episode, that helped Bot defeat the evil god, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So in this story, there were 12 stars that came down from the sky to help Bot defeat Eben. And these became the original Watchers. So throughout the books, Watchers and Lumeri sometimes get used interchangeably based on who's speaking and the connotation they're using. But for this, they are the originals.
Do they have a significance in the book that goes beyond just being a part of the creation story for the Medine?
Yes. And I debated how much I wanted to tell when I was prepping for this episode. I do have a little snippet from book 3 I wanted to read. This is from chapter 4 during a flashback from Haven's point of view from when he was a child and his father was telling him a story. So, okay, here we go. Do you remember the story of when the Lumeri defeated Eben at the great battle? Haven nodded. Do you remember that it was Bot, the goddess of the sun and sky, that ripped out his heart? He nodded again, eyes wide and glossy as the imagined scene played in his mind. Well, it's said that Bot gave the heart to one of the Lumiere and told him to hide it somewhere where it would never be found. He took it and vowed to Bot that he would never let it see the light of day again. He traveled for many days and nights. He went into the desert waste. He went to the tallest mountains. He saw the endless water that reached beyond the edges of the world. But every time he went to bury the heart or toss it into the deepest canyon or throw it into the endless water to carry it far away with its current, he stopped. He couldn't do it. Why not? Haven asked. His father shrugged. Some believed that he felt guilty for betraying his creator, that even though Eben had brought chaos into the world, he had still created something beautiful with the Lumiere. But there are some who think that Eben's heart still had power, that he had not been vanquished, only separated from his mortal body. And when the Watcher took it, that power consumed him and compelled him to betray Bot and the other Lumiere. He took the heart and was never seen again. Okay, so this passage eventually goes on between Haven and his father, and it gives us some deeper insight into some of his father's more questionable parenting techniques. But it also gives us another look at the Lumiere and what happened after Eben's fall. And it's important because this is going to come back in the next 3 books.
Oh, so you've got some foreshadowing going on here.
Yes. The plot around the Lumiere is a slow burn, for sure. I've been dropping little crumbs on the path, but I promise you it's going to be a major factor when we get to books 4, 5, and 6.
I think it's interesting how this story of Eben getting his heart ripped out of him is kind of a mind. Well, it kind of mirrors what happens with the Watchers. So, and you knowing what you did, you did that totally on purpose. We know you did it on purpose.
Oh, yeah. Don't mind me over here just making connections on the murder board. But I mean, you're a good detective too. You could probably figure out where all of this is going if you haven't already.
Yeah, I mean, I'll read the first chapter and tell you probably what's going to happen.
Yeah. Mina's going to tell us exactly how it ends. I mean, there's a lot I haven't told you yet. I mean, we'll see if I tell you or if I make you read the books.
I mean, I'll catch it when we make it into a movie. It'll be fine.
But you always fall asleep during movies.
I mean, I only fall asleep during movies because you watch the first 30 minutes of the movie and the bad guy, gets vanquished. The good guy gets the girl. It might be the girl that kills the bad guy at the end as the surprise twist. But there's always kind of this natural path that some stories flow down, that there's also something about just being in a dark room on a big cozy, because now they got those dream lounger chairs.
Oh yeah, at the theaters.
Just a dark room and you're all bundled up in your sweater on this comfy chair that I fall asleep, even with the loud explosions and everything happening in the background.
It could be a war movie and Mina's passed out.
Transformers, explosions, and yep.
Yeah, though we did that once. Did I tell you about the time that me and my buddy, we went to the Star Wars movie premiere when The Force Awakens came out? The marathon, yep, when they played all the original movies leading up to it. So the whole thing started at 2 a.m. So there's everybody in their pajamas with their pillows and blankets, and we sleep through the first 3 prequels.
Oh my goodness.
Oh gosh. But yeah, okay, well, movie version is already on the vision board, so I'll just have to add a little asterisk to it saying good enough to keep Mina awake. That's the goal.
Yep, that's the goal. All right. Anyways, let's get this episode wrapped up. We have a 5-star Amazon review from BK that says, I loved this book. I couldn't put it down. I was amazed by how quickly I was pulled into this world and how much connection I felt with its characters. I am chomping at the bit for the next book. It has everything: romance, fantasy, adventure, and a touch of paranormal. I would and do recommend this book to all of my bookworm friends.
I just want to say thank you to anyone who leaves a review. I mean, a review is such an easy way for people to support authors, and especially self-published authors like myself. And I know for me, I get so excited when I see a new review pop up, and it just gives me that little extra kick to keep going some days when I feel like I'm not living up to my own expectations. So truly, thank you to anyone who's left a review. It means the world to me.
And thank you to everyone listening to this podcast as well. There's a lot of hard work that goes into making an episode. So when you subscribe or leave a comment, we really appreciate it as much. We also have a lot of content left to cover in future episodes, and we're looking forward to bringing it to you guys.
Yes, thank you so much for listening. We love you guys.
And I think that's going to wrap up episode 6 for us on mythical creatures. Have a great week, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to Behind the Quill. We hope you enjoyed this episode and found it both insightful and inspiring.
Stay connected with us using our social media links in the description. If you have any questions, suggestions, or topics you'd like us to cover, feel free to reach out. We love hearing from our listeners.
Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast so you never miss an episode. Remember, the magic of storytelling lies within each of us, and every tale has the power to transform. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep writing, and keep bringing your stories to life. Happy writing!